Don with Roadrunner Photography Tours. Today I'm going to give you a real quick overview of Topaz Studio. Now I'm starting out here in Lightroom, and just so you know, there's several different ways you can get into Topaz Studio. This is the standalone version of it here. This is the little icon that you launch it, and you can just drag and drop an image right in it to start. So let's say, for instance, I'll pull up something in Bridge and I'll just drag it in and show you. So let's see, find something real quick. A lot of hard drive space, lots and lots of images. So let's just grab something from Death Valley. Okay, here's an old car, and just drag and drop, and boom, it's opening that infrared image from Bridge in Topaz Studio. So you can use it as a standalone image editor should you wish to do so. If I was going to do that, I would just start here with some basic adjustments, click basic workflow, and then it's giving me essentially like a raw processor. Exposure, clarity, shadow, highlights, adjust black levels, saturation. Well, this is infrared, so I want to just kill the saturation on it. So now I've got a black and white image. And so anyway, this is just a real quick overview of what things look like in Topaz Studio. So let's just say I'm going to keep it like that, and then, oh, how about vintage? Let's see what happens if we go for a vintage look. Okay, hot summer, blurred out the top, and this is just clicking on something without doing any of the adjustments. You can always go in and choose your adjustments here. This is an opacity slider, how much of the effect, focal blur, how much of the effect. You can see everything's sharp now top to bottom, but then I do this and it blurs the bottom and the top. There's a texture layer. These are all things that this particular program does, but I don't use this as a standalone program, so I'm going to just go ahead and X out of this. I'm not even going to save the image, and we'll go to Lightroom. Different image. This was taken in the Alabama Hills. It's about an hour or two outside of Death Valley. You can see the Eastern Sierras there in the background. It's a pretty cool place. If you like rocks, it's a very cool place. Now, if you're a Lightroom user, you could open this up in Topaz Studio. Just go to Edit In, and you can see I've got a huge selection of programs to use, but you could come down, choose Topaz Studio right here, and go right back into Topaz Studio. But that's not my normal workflow. My normal workflow, for instance, I'm just going to hit Auto here. Not a bad adjustment right there. I like a little bit of clarity, usually about 30 or so, and that's not bad. It's not bad at all. Let's check the auto white balance versus a little slight change, very subtle. So the camera got it pretty close. I could always use the eyedropper over here, click on the snow, and again, it made a little bit of change, not much. But anyway, we're not doing a Lightroom demo, we're doing a Topaz Studio demo. So I'm going to open this in Adobe Photoshop CC, and the reason, I've been slow to adapt to Topaz Studio, and the reason is because I'm used to using all the Topaz plugins, which are individual plugins that are available. Now, one little thing, if you're going to use a Topaz plugin that I like to do is duplicate my base layer, assuming everything else is your liking before you go to Topaz, and then I come down and I'll say, okay, Topaz Labs, and these are all the different plugins, and they're single purpose. For instance, Black and White Effects 2 does just black and white conversions, and you would use that one plugin just for this, and it's going to do its thing. I guess if I really had it together, I'd be working on JPEG files, so everything opens much quicker. But you know, that's not my workflow. My workflow is always using raw files. So anyway, this is the black and white plugin, and let's just say, for instance, we'll just go with the toned collection just for something a little different. It's going to prepare some previews, and you can see as you mouse over here on the left, it's showing me in a preview what these things are going to look like. Well, we'll just hit the sepia. It did the sepia conversion. We'll go back, hit OK, and we're going to go boom into Photoshop. And that was unexpected. Got a little error. Usually I don't have this problem, but let's try it again. So let's go back. Topaz Labs, black and white effects. Hopefully it won't crash this time. I think that's a first. I don't think that's happened before. Let's open it up. It says it's preparing previews. And there we go. Okay. All right. Last used settings. Let's see. Let's see if it. Well, it probably doesn't remember because it crashed. But anyway, it did a basic conversion. And anyway, we're gonna hit OK. And hopefully it's not going to crash. Nope, didn't crash this time. Perfect. Hopefully that was just a little fluke. But as you can see, you know, I've just got a black and white adjustment layer here from that plugin. Now, let's go ahead and get rid of this plugin. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the layer again. I always like, you know, having my base layer left alone. But let's go to Topaz Studio. And let's see, Topaz Studio, there we go. Because it should give me everything when I go into this. Now, the neat thing about Topaz Studio is it comes with a lot of basic features, but then there are some things that are additional add-ons. Just real quick, you get this little pop-up on when it starts up. I could uncheck this and it'll stop showing it to me. But on the left side of the screen, you've got your effects, so it'll show you what each adjustment's going to look like. You've got your preview window. You've got your image panel down at the bottom, or if you are working on multiple images. And then, of course, on the right, just like in Photoshop, you have, or even Lightroom, you have your adjustment panel over on the right. So anyway, there, and then it goes into further detail if you choose to use this. But let's go ahead and, okay, here's a basic correction panel, which shouldn't need to do too much because I already did this in Lightroom. But okay, it's doing some things all by itself here. Let's see what it's doing. Okay, a little bit of clarity, just a few little adjustments. That's a little over processed for me. So I'm going to pull this back. I mean, you can see like it's putting this golden light into the mountains. It just really wasn't there. So anyway, I'm reset that. I hit the little reset button. But let's go back and basic correction. Okay, got rid of that. But I do want to show you the other things. For instance, Topaz Impression is a painting type program. So click on that and let's see what this would look like as a painting. Well, there's the default image, and it's really not, I kind of like it. And that's without going through and seeing what other images or what other presets. You can see there's quite a lot of presets. And so let's just open this up. Okay, and you can see it shows you different brush strokes, brush sizes, paint volume, paint opacity. So you can work on this. Okay, you can see as I lowered the opacity, I actually put in like more white stuff. So maybe we need less paint opacity. Stroke rotation variation, lots of stuff. Stroke width, stroke lengths, and all this will change the effect. So anyway, it's just you play around in it. But as you can see, I'm still in Photoshop, so or I'm still in Topaz Studio, which is going to export this back to Photoshop. But let's just say I want the painted look. Hit OK. Apply changes, return back to host application down there in the corner. So it's coming back to Photoshop. And as you can see, because I started out with a duplicated layer, I've got my nice sharp base image, and then of course my painted image. Um, Once you're in Photoshop, you have the option of doing other things. For instance, this is the same image at about, the effects kind of starts coming in at about 50% opacity. It has a very slight painted look. You can see where that's a detailed look, and you can see it kind of loses a little bit of the sharpness, has a little more of a painted look, but it still looks like a photograph. The But you could go on in Photoshop and do something else, use another plugin at this point. But I think I'm going to start using Topaz Studio a bit more often because I've found that it's so easy to integrate. I think the first version, I don't think the first version integrated with Photoshop. Maybe it did, but now that I realize it does seamlessly integrate into Photoshop, then that's what I'm going to. I will certainly start using this more in my workflow in the future. It's a pretty powerful tool, very easy to use, and anyway, so that's it. So there's several different ways of navigating. This is, like I said, I showed you in Photoshop what this one image does. Then you can go directly from Lightroom to it or through Photoshop into it. You can do it as a standalone where if you don't have Photoshop or Lightroom, you can just drag your images right to it, work on it as a standalone image editor. So a lot of options, and I think it's worth taking a look. The nice thing about most image processing software is that it's available for trial downloads. Usually get 30 days or so, and then give it a try, see if it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, then I would say move on to something else. But if it does work for you, then let's maybe it's something that you add to your arsenal. All right, thanks for taking a few minutes to listen to me. As always, you guys can send, if you're in my meetup or a client of Roadrunner, feel free to send me a email if you've got any questions. All right, thanks. Take care. Bye.